We're going to get started here. So good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining me today. I'm Greg Yotis, the Senior Sales Director of Life and Annuities here at Pinnacle. Reach out with any questions or cases that you're working on. We're here to help and make it as easy as possible for you to make those sales. So like I said, today we are going to go through the various types of annuities that Pinnacle offers. So that's going to include SPIAs, which are single premium immediate annuities, fixed annuities, MIGAs, or multi-year guaranteed annuities, and we'll talk a little bit about the difference between a MIGA and a fixed annuity, and then also we'll wrap up with our fixed indexed annuity offerings. Again, today we're just going over the basics just so you can understand the differences and which products fit best for solutions for your clients. So first one, the SPIAs, the single premium immediate annuity. They are basically a one-time purchase, right? You're putting in a lump sum of money, and at the annuity provides regular payments over a period of time, typically lasting through the lifetime. So receiving payments, much like a pension or Social Security. So one-time payment, and then they're going to get income from that. And you can structure that. You can either have it for a specific time frame, so say 20 years, or you can have it over a lifetime, for lifetime. So, of course, your income is going to be less the farther you stretch that out. So if you're looking for a little bit higher income, you can shorten that time frame and say, hey, I just wanted to pay it over 10 years or 20 years. Again, one-time payment, lump sum. Some advantages to offering the SPIA. They're very easy to understand. It's like I said, it's pretty much like a bond. You put the money in and you're going to get an income stream after that. Guaranteed long-term payments. Those payments are guaranteed. They're not going to change. They don't fluctuate. There's no fluctuation with the market. Higher returns for mortality credit. So the younger or the healthier you are and the older you are, you're going to get some higher returns for those individuals. Lower annuity fees. Again, no fees. Any type of fees are baked into the product, so the client's not paying any fees in that. And it offers, in some cases you can put on a rider if you want that money to grow with inflation. So you can put a 2% or 3% inflation rider on those. So your payments are going to go up 2 or 3% to keep track with inflation. So there are some of the advantages and some of the key points when you're talking to your clients and why somebody would want to do a single premium immediate annuity. Now, also on the flip side, some disadvantages for offering the SPIA. It's lower liquidity. So when you make that one-time payment into the product, the client is losing control of that money. So it's not like they can tap into it. The money goes, and then the only thing the client's entitled to is the stream of income payments, which are guaranteed. And then if they end up passing away before all of that money is used for the income payments that they've put in, then their beneficiaries would just receive whatever's left over. Large upfront cost. The cost right there is that you're losing control of that money. So you're turning it over. Inflation risk. If you don't have an inflation rider on there, your payments are going to be level all the way through. So in some cases, the longer you have it, if you have a lifetime payment, it's not going to keep track with inflation because your income payments are going to stay the same. Smaller inheritance, again, because once that money, if you put 100,000 in there and you've received 100,000 in income payments, there's no inheritance to give to the children. So that money is used up and there's no transfer of wealth there. And then market risk, it's because you're getting those income payments, the money's not really going to grow like you would if it's a variable product for the SPIAs. So there's some disadvantages. Again, I would just kind of think of it if somebody's looking for guaranteed income, they want to give themselves a personal pension. and they have the money and they don't care about losing control of it, that's the option that makes sense for those individuals. Next up, we're going to take a look at our fixed annuities. So this is kind of a step up in the scheme of things as far as the annuities. So fixed annuities allow you to lock in a rate that you're going to earn over a long period of time. It's going to be unaffected by market ups and downs. It's really controlled by interest rates, and the principal investment and specified interests are both guaranteed. So it's a really guaranteed product. The way I look at these as a fixed annuity is it's really like a more like a savings account with higher returns. It's very steady over a long period of time, very safe, no market fluctuation. And we'll take a look at some of the rates that they have right now on those. So with the fixed annuity, some of the advantages that we have: tax deferral, of course, across the board. For the annuities, it's you don't pay the taxes until the money comes out. Principal and interest is protected. So for those individuals that are very conservative and really don't want any kind of unexpected downturns, fixed annuities are a great option. Like I said, there's no market risk. It's not tied to the market. It's tied to interest rates, similar to a savings account. If there's some flexibility there, you can take money out, penalty free, and generally up to 10% you can take out penalty free. And then once the surrender period's done, you have flexibility to move money in and out of there. Lower investment minimums. Generally, you can start a fixed annuity with say $5,000 or $10,000. And then there's beneficiary protection. So for those people who want to put money aside and say, hey, I don't really need to touch this money, but I want to give it to my children, or I want to leave something for somebody. There's that beneficiary protection that they could leave the money, and it's not going to go down. Disadvantages, of course, you lose some opportunity for growth because it's tied to the interest rate, so you're not going to get a huge return in there, and there's not going to be any changes like you would have with some of the other options. Where they're more variable and you have higher upside. Inconsistent rates. So we'll talk about why they're inconsistent. Like I said, they kind of go with interest rates, and we'll talk about like kind of what the difference is between a fixed annuity and a MYGA. I know in a lot of cases we think in our head that they're kind of one and the same, but they're slightly different. So those rates do change. There's not a guaranteed rate necessarily from the rate that you receive when you first get into the fixed annuity. And then of course, inflation risk there. It's, those rates aren't going to keep up with inflation based on, where interest rates are and how high inflation goes. So you lose some advantages there to keep track with inflation. Again, these are for clients that are, very conservative, or, have some money that they want to be very conservative with. In a lot of cases, it's money they set aside that they want their beneficiaries to make sure they have. So we'll talk about the multi-year guaranteed annuities. So those are, it's a type of fixed annuity, but the difference is that the rate is fixed. So the rate never changes. The difference between a MYGA and a traditional fixed annuity is the length of time the rate is guaranteed. So like I said before, on the fixed annuities, those rates necessarily aren't guaranteed. They're going to fluctuate up and down with the interest rates. Where when you go into a MYGA, which is a multi-year guaranteed annuity, those rates are guaranteed. So, they're more of the more popular fixed annuities that we offer. Those are, the ones that are, you're going to get 5% interest, say, for 5 years. So that's guaranteed that you're going to get 5% every year for 5 years. The MYGAs have higher rates than the fixed annuities because they're a guaranteed product for a specific period of time. So those are really good. They're really the best offering for clients who, again, are conservative, don't want any market fluctuation. They have either old CDs at the bank, so you can get better returns than you would for a CD at the bank. They have old CDs that may have lower rates that were, they got into them when interest rates were a lot lower. So you can always upgrade to a new MIGA with better rates. And if they have just money that they want to, set aside, in some cases people want to invest in those and use it as kind of a bond alternative, instead of going into bonds, and they, it's for their more conservative investments. So advantages to the MIGA, when you're talking to a client, what you want to say, of course, the tax deferral is huge. You don't pay any taxes on that interest, that your guaranteed interest you're receiving, until you pull the money out. And then, of course, you can always 1035 it into another annuity and even defer the taxes even more. Your principal and interest are protected since it's a guaranteed product. You're never going to have to worry about losing money, and you're going to be, know exactly what the interest you're going to return on that investment is. No market risks since it's not tied to any market instruments. There's some flexibility with those, of course. Like, you can do a 3-year, 5-year, 6-year. So flexibility, however long you want to guarantee that interest rate. So you have some choices. Lower investment minimums, again, just like the fixed annuities, generally you can get into a MIGA for as little as $5,000, in some cases even $2,500, that you can put in there. And then, of course, there's the beneficiary protection. So again, for those people who want to leave money to their family, it's a really good opportunity to make sure that money's there when the time comes. Disadvantages, of course, you're losing out on the growth on the upside. So for somebody who says, hey, I'm not that excited about 5% for 5 years, I want to get more of a return, I want to grow this money, MIGAs may not be the best option. Inconsistent rates, again, it's tied to the interest rate. So even though you have you're guaranteed the interest for a specific period of time, at the end of that the guarantee period, to reinvest, you have to reinvest it if you're going to stay in a MIGA at where the rates are at that time. So, those are going to go up and down with interest rates. And again, it may not keep up with inflation, right? Because you don't have the upside growth, not tied to the market. You're just going to get the 5% and guaranteed. And if you compare that with what's going on in the market, yeah, you're going to get higher returns. So that's the trade-off for having a guaranteed product. And then we'll take a look at our fixed indexed annuities. So those are going to be contracts that provide you with income in retirement. They definitely have those income riders, so you can get lifetime income off of those. It's going to be, your payments are going to be based off the performance of the stock market indexes. So like the S&P 500, which is the most popular, and most people, even if they've never heard of anything, they've heard of the S&P and see it in the paper and the news all the time of what that's doing. So your investments are going to be tied to those indexes. Granted, in the fixed indexed annuities, there's a lot of options besides just the S&P 500. There's the NASDAQ offerings that most carriers have, and then there's customized indexes as well. But you're basically tied to what that index is going to do. Again, you're going to protect against any losses. So, for clients who don't want to lose money and are afraid of market volatility, this is perfect because they're going to get upside potential with no downside risk, because the worst return they can get is 0%. So their principal is pretty much protected. You don't have to worry about that. And in some cases, like I said, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, is there's some differences in how those crediting strategies work for the indexes. So you will be capped on the upside, but that's the trade-off for having that downside protection, the 0% floor. Again, for clients who are either right before retirement or in the beginning stages of retirement, or even the late stages, and they say, hey, I can't take a 20% downturn in the market. I need something safer, but I still want some growth potential. Fixed index annuities are a great option. And then just going over kind of some of the advantages we just spoke about, limit your losses. Again, they have a 0% floor, so you're not going to lose any money. Possible guaranteed earnings. Most of the, if not all, of the fixed index annuities offer a fixed bucket. So if somebody says, hey, I don't like what's going on, I think the indexes are going to have a down year, you can always put them in the fixed, and they'll get a nice fixed rate of return, which on most of those products are probably, in the right now in the 4% range. So you can get a 4% guaranteed return in the fixed bucket. Does offer some inflation protection because you have that higher upside potential of what the indexes are going to do. So you have a chance of outperforming inflation. And then the tax deferral is a big, of course, with all the annuities, is a big option and a benefit as well. Disadvantages: you're gonna limit your potential gains. So as we're going to talk about on the next slide, some of those income strategies, you're going to be capped on how much you can actually grow the money based on the index. But again, that's the trade-off between getting the 0% floor, as opposed to having a totally variable product where you have unlimited upside, but you also have unlimited downside. So you're going to be capped there on the gains. Sometimes there's some higher fees. There's some nuances in there. Fees. You can actually have some fees to get some higher upside. I'm not a huge fan of those unless you're really bullish on the market, because it kind of negatively impacts you when the markets, you get a 0% return, but you're still paying the fee for the higher caps or participation rates. There's surrender charges. So if you're looking to move the money out, during the surrender period, you're going to get hit with charges. So keep in mind, fixed indexed annuities are a long-term investment, not a short-term investment. And then some, return uncertainty. So, the gains of your investment are going to be, based on what the index does. And just to use an example of, like, say, if you had an S&P 500 that had a cap of 10%, you can say that their return is going to be somewhere between 0 and 10%. So you can't, as opposed to a multi-year guaranteed annuity where you can say, hey, you're definitely going to get 5% each year for 5 years. Here you can say, they can be anywhere between 0 and 10%. So this is kind of a busy slide, but I'll go through it quick. Kind of some of the points, when we talked about how they limit the upside to be able to offer you that 0% floor. You have, they call it a loss floor or a 0% floor. So the worst you can do is a 0% return. Minimum returns, it might be smaller guaranteed interest rates on your return based on the performance of the index. So that's one of the options you can choose. You have an adjusted value. So in some cases, they'll adjust it at the end of the index segment. So say it's a 1 year, they'll adjust it up or down. Sometimes up, they'll give you an extra 1%. They're not as popular. We don't see too many of those. The cap, the return cap, that's probably the most popular. That's the one I was saying where, they're going to cap your return on the index at, say, right now on most of them on the S&P 500 are right around, I'd say, the 10 or 12% range. So you're never going to earn more than that 10 or 12%. But when you look at something like the S&P 500, the S&P 500 is positive, generally, 8 out of 10 years. And most of those returns are somewhere between the 8 to 12% range. Once in a while, the S&Ps, of course, is going to, you're going to have a year where it does 20%. So you miss out on some of that, but, you're going to get up to that cap at 20% or 10%, excuse me. Participation rates, they're kind of the second most popular. So basically that's just saying the index, whatever the index returns. So we'll use an example, say it's, 10% again. So the index did 10%. Your participation rate is 60%, then you're only going to receive 6% as a credit to your investment, because it's 60% of what the return is. But the good thing is with those, when it's if you're bullish on the market and the market's doing well, and it does say 30% or 20%, you're going to get 60% of that. So 60% of 20 would be like a 12% return. So those are the second most popular index crediting rates that we see. And then, of course, then the last one is spreads. So in some cases, they'll say, hey, if you're earning, say, 3% fee on your return, and the index does 8%, you're only going to receive 5%. So they're going to take that 3% off, which is the spread between what the index does and what you receive. So again, probably better when the markets are doing well, but it's an option, especially if you want to grow the money and you're a little bit more, you want to take on a little bit more risk. And then finally, just a touch for the fixed index annuities, which is a big option, kind of the withdrawals and the income. So for those individuals who say, hey, I want to grow the money, and then at a later date, I want to take an income from this money, the fixed index annuities have those income riders to be able to do that. And, what you see here most of the time, these are going to be more of your larger, transfers or rollovers from a 401k, or an IRA that has significant money in there, and they want to take income, especially because in an IRA, you're going to have to take your required minimum distributions once you turn 73 now. So you're going to have to take income anyway. So you might as well get some guaranteed income from there, and to meet those requirements. And like I said, the best thing is guaranteed income. That way the person can't outlive their money. So those income riders on the fixed index annuities are a huge asset for those people who are really concerned about, outliving their money, or just making sure that they have a guaranteed income stream going forward. I'm going to take you into our quoting software on the website quickly here, and we'll go over this pretty quickly because we'll have another training just on actually doing the quotes. But on our website, if you go to quoting, then down to annuities, once you hit that, it's going to take you into Annuity Rate Watch, our pinnacle platform for quoting annuities. So as you see across the top, you can quote MYGAs, fixed annuities, fixed index annuities, SPIAs. So for today, we'll choose, it's a lot of the same options, but we're going to do put the state in, say our premium today is 100,000. We can even put the age in, say it's a 65-year-old, and say we want a MYGA that's, we'll use kind of the sweet spot right now, the 5-year MYGA. Always want to make sure that the comp here is chosen to not fee-based, so you don't get any fee-based products in your search. But you can simply hit search, and then it's going to pull up a list of those 5-year MYGAs. So quickly just going through, it's for most of them it's the same. You have the carrier and the product name on the left here. You can click on that. It'll open it up. Kind of tells you all the specifics of the product. It gives you the free look period, the rate lock, everything like that. It gives you over here on the right-hand side, going to give you some policy notes, anything specific about the guaranteed rates, renewal features, issue ages, so you can see exactly, how old like in this case, this particular product doesn't take any qualified money, but non-qualified, they can do it up to age 85. They can actually annuitize it at age 100. Or it gets annuitized at age 100. Maximum premium is $1 million. Initial premium $25,000. Tells you what states it's available in. Carrier rating here on the left-hand side. You have your rates. So it tells you what the guaranteed rates are. Guaranteed yield to surrender. That's the important one here, because in some cases You may see ones that give a little bit higher of a bonus rate for the first year, but across the whole guarantee period, you want to know what your guaranteed yield rate is. Um, if there's any riders, so in this case, there's no riders. Most of the MIGAs don't have any type of riders associated with them, as you would have with the income riders on the fixed index annuities. You have your surrender schedule right there. So for the 5 years, you see it goes 9%, 8%, 7, 6, 5. Um, so you have all that information, again, state-specific information. And then if you wanted to see a little bit of a rate history of kind of where the product's rates have been, as you can see, they're kind of, you know, they were trending down there for a little bit. And now they're coming back up based on what's going on with interest rates. So quick, simple to go in here. Definitely get in here, you know, try it out. Pretty intuitive, but you can go do a search. If you ever need us, you know, we're always here to help walk you through it. And if you ever need any quotes, you can always contact myself or Mark to help you with that as well. So with that, that's you know, what we wanted to cover today. Again, thank you for joining me this morning. Really appreciate it. Hope that was helpful to just give you some of the basics of the annuities we offer, and know, you know, when you're talking to clients and having those conversations, you know, trying to fit which product or annuity product works best for what they're trying to accomplish. So again, thank you, and everyone have a great day.
Don't forget to subscribe to catch the latest news in insurance and agent training. See you in the next video.